Welcome to Conversations. I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to start, before I introduce the guest, and tell you what I read over my Thanksgiving holiday. I don't pretend to be a religious scholar, and it's only through this show and interviewing people that I've gotten interested in some of these topics. But this is a new thing that has come out in September from the Catholic Church, from the Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith. It's entitled Dominus Jesus. And it pretty much says that as much as has been done for bringing different religions together and building tolerance, that that's all well and good, but good Catholics should know that we still have the corner on the only truth. Halfway through, I started feeling guilty for calling myself a Christian almost. It's a very disturbing document. It has disturbed a lot of people. It not only does it say that other religions don't have it right, it says that other denominations of Christianity don't have it right. And I'm only bringing that up because I know a lot of you won't read that, and just to let you know that it's out there. Having knocked the Catholics, we will move on. My guest today is Leanne Larango. Leanne's mother grew up across the street from me, or I grew up across the street from her, I don't remember. We moved there when I was young enough that there was no time that I don't remember not knowing her mother. We had a long period in between after high school, and then I came back from San Francisco, and we had to get to know each other, but we started up, and she had a young daughter who has grown into this beautiful young woman.
Thank you.
And I've asked her here because one of the things I wanted to do when I started this show was to get people who are not representing big organizations or charities or have causes to push. You know, we do enough of that. So I want to just talk with a young college student, see what she thinks about things, see what she thinks about the friendship we've had over the years.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, thanks for having me, Greg.
Let's see, about how old were you when I came rolling into your life? It was about 10 or 11 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I would have been 10 or 11.
So,
10. 9 or 10, actually.
what'd you think when this person appeared out of nowhere?
Well, I thought you were just a nice guy. I mean, you were one of Mom's friends. It worked out. You were nice. We had fun talks.
Oh. When did your mom first tell you I was gay? And what time did she think that was something to...
I don't even really remember the first day she told me. I mean, I remember her telling me, but I don't remember her actually just... I don't remember it being as dramatic as you'd think it might be. I mean, it really didn't affect me. I mean, it did, but you were already a part of my life, and I already knew you and had a relationship with you, and so it didn't really change how I thought of you or how I felt about you, and so it didn't really, I was just kind of like, oh, one more aspect to Greg.
Did she tell you at the same time that I was HIV positive?
No, she didn't.
That came later?
Yeah, she told me that when I was probably in 8th grade, and when you were actually having Thanksgiving at our house.
Over there?
Mm-hmm. In Helena.
Yeah.
And it kind of caught me off guard. I hadn't expected that, but it was an eye-opener. It really brought something that you always kind of think is other people's problems, or that happens to other people, and showed that it could happen to people that I knew and that I cared about, and kind of brought it to the forefront for me.
That was a while back. Did it seem scary that you had someone in the house who, you know, we're talking AIDS and HIV and all that?
For about a minute. Because, I mean, education on it. I had already known about it and talked about it and knew that you and I sitting in the same room or even sharing a drink, I couldn't catch it from you.
Okay, I just sort of wanted to debunk this myth that the gay person goes around destroying nice families in Helena, Montana. Whatever.
Oh, not at
No?
all. Not at all. If anything, I'd say you have been one of Mom's best friends and really good friends, and she's needed all of you.
Well, for me, it was so wonderful to connect with someone that goes back that far
Yeah.
and can remember, the old lady down at the end of the lane or that sort of thing. I'm going to do some just sort of hit and miss questions for you looking back on your life.
Okay.
You're a very beautiful young woman now, and you were a very beautiful young girl, and you got into beauty pageants.
Yes, I
And did
did.
a lot of that.
Yes.
And after Jean Benet, Ramsey, beauty pageants like that for young girls have sort of become suspect. So I'm going to ask you today, what was that like? What did you get into? Did it warp your
Well,
dear little
no.
mind?
I don't think it warped me at all. I think it helped me have more confidence in myself. It showed me poise under pressure, and I was never doing anything that I didn't want to do. I mean, that's what I think a lot of the people are talking about beauty pageants now, that they are making the little girls go into it when they don't want to. But where Mom is so great that it was all my choice. I mean, when I decided that that's what I wanted to do, I just kind of did it, and it was fun. And when it wasn't fun anymore, I didn't do it anymore.
So you don't think it's a necessarily evil thing?
No, I mean, granted, there were a couple of moms that took it to another level and made it really important for their daughters to win, and their daughters felt like it was really, really important to win. But, I mean, I personally felt like I put more pressure on myself to win than anybody else ever did. I mean, I always knew walking away from the pageant that Mom was still going to love me and that I was still going to be the same person I always was and just come back with a new experience. I think that everything I've done in life has just been experiences that I've needed to experience to make me who I am today.
Let's go to that period of time when you had trouble
Okay.
and when you were rowdy, and I think we all had them.
Yes.
Well, I was such a prig. I didn't have much, but you got involved with drinking and drugs and boys and cars and all of that. And
Yes.
we're also happy now, looking backward, that you did it early and got it out of your system. But at the
Yes.
time, it was pretty scary. Looking back on that, can you see a reason for that, or?
I think that I was just dealing with a lot of hard emotions. I mean, Granddad just died, and then it seemed like right away Mom moved in with Leroy, and I was just dealing with a lot of change in my life. Also, while I was dealing with a lot of changes, in my teens, I mean, I was going through just too much and just rebelled a little early, I think. But it was good that I got it out of my system earlier rather than later, while I had that safety net there and the support system to know that it wasn't the end of the world if I screwed up, but as long as I learned from my mistakes.
Well, I thought that was remarkable, because by the time you came to school and went away, where a lot of people are doing it then, you had it under your belt and were a pretty level-headed young person.
Yeah.
You said Leroy came. Now, your mom met Leroy later in life, and
Yes.
she's crazy about him.
Yes, she is.
I'm crazy about him. He's a nice
Yes,
guy,
he's a fabulous man.
but that doesn't destroy the fact that he wasn't your real dad,
No.
which is going to lead us into divorce, and we were going to talk about that a
Yeah.
bit. In your mom's generation and mine, nobody got divorced. Well, they did, of course, but
Yeah.
it was not expected. And her parents, who are both gone, never, were together. My parents are still together. You're poised at the point where you're going out and having boyfriends.
Yeah.
Is marriage a possibility? Is it something you think about?
I don't know. I mean, it's just that I only ever want to get married once. And if that requires me not getting married when I'm younger, then I'd rather wait and make it be a truly special thing. But I also believe, like Mom has taught me, that I could love many people in my life, because it's not that she and Dad never loved each other, it's just that they grew away from each other. It's kind of how I like to look at it. And I mean, it's good to know that even that I can always have love, whether it be with the first person I fall in love with, or like Mom and be later in life and find someone that I want to grow old with.
She's an inspiration to me. There's still hope, you know, for us.
Yeah.
You're going to school. It's a bit of a stereotype, but in my day, a lot of women went to school to find a man.
Yeah.
If they wanted to marry a minister, they went to divinity school. If they, you know, a banker, whatever, they had their eye out. What are your plans? How do you rate that? Is a career more important? Do you think you could have both? Are you even thinking about those things yet?
Actually, I have my future for me pretty much planned for me. I don't really, if there's one thing that Mom has shown me, it's that I need to better improve myself before I can try to bring anyone else in to my life. So I need to get where I want to go and not really hope that someone else is going to help me through it. Or, I mean, there'll always be people like my friends and stuff to help me through it, but I'm not going to need a husband. Or, I mean, she's always just kind of shown me that I had to be able to support myself and make sure that I'll be all right on my own, instead of having that have to depend on someone else to provide for me. Or, you know, like a lot of girls, like probably more so from your generation, went to college and found a husband and then didn't work anymore. And then, like, I know when I was watching Mom struggle when I was young, it was real hard. And so I just kind of made a conscious decision then that I was never going to have to struggle like that if I was to get married and have kids and then get divorced. I wasn't going to have to struggle as hard as she did.
And you think through education you can avoid that struggle or some of it?
Yeah. If I know that Mom's probably had way more experience for jobs that she's applied for than people coming straight out of school, but they've had that little piece of paper that said master's degree on it, and they've gotten the job over her. So I think that it's very important to be able to say that it's not so much that you have to go into the field that you get your degree in, it's having a piece of paper that says that you're trainable.
We were talking about college out on the street here a little while back. When I went to the University of Chicago, that was pretty expensive. I came back, though, to Montana and Billings and Rocky, and it was fairly cheap. So I could flunk out one semester and go back and get straight A's the next and take a year off. And college just seemed sort of like at least, you know, if you stayed on the state level, it was kind of an inexpensive game to play. It also kept you out of, you know, critical wars and things like that.
Yeah.
But I gather, because of the expense of college now on all levels, even the state levels, that that has shifted. Do you feel that pressure that it's...
Oh yeah. I mean, there's kind of a saying around campus for some people that C's get degrees. And if some people are just going to school to get their bachelor's or associate's degree, and that's fine, but if you want to go on, like a lot of people are thinking about going and getting their master's or getting going even further to graduate school. And so, I mean, you have to have the grades to get into those types of things. I mean, it's all about where you want to go, but I feel that there's more pressure to get better grades because the universities are so, I mean, the universities, I think, are, like, they make your freshman and sophomore years so hard. Like, sophomore class, or freshman classes, excuse me, are 200 people. You don't even get to talk to your professor, and it's really a hard transition for kids coming straight out of high school into college and depending entirely on themselves to get things done and do the work themselves.
Well, you're a sophomore now.
Yeah.
We should say. So, what about a social life? I swear I played bridge, drank, and had sex all through college. I mean, that was my purpose. And, you know, the rest was incidental. You know,
Yeah.
and I was bright enough I could, you know, get through. Well, what is that like now? People take college very seriously? I suppose there's a range of...
Well, there's quite a, I mean, it depends on what your major is. Like my roommate is in, I think, pre-med. And so she studies all the time. She has probably 3 tests a week. So she studies all the time. Whereas I'm a history major, so I don't have a lot of tests. I have a lot of reading, but I don't have a lot of tests. So I probably don't study near as much as she does.
You decided to join a sorority,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of surprised us.
It surprised a lot of people.
You're kind of a bit of a tomboy and a bit of a free thinker, and we
Yeah.
were all kind of surprised. How do you like being in a sorority?
I really enjoy it. Like, it's great living in a house where there's always people around. I mean, if you need someone to hold your hand and let you cry on their shoulder, or if you need to be there for someone, I mean, any of the girls in my house can be there for me like that, and or I can be there for them like that. Or there's always people to go out and do things with, and there's always people to go see, or I mean, it just makes it so much funner.
So you hang together,
Yeah,
party together,
yep.
date together,
You go on double dates, yeah.
and once a week you have a fancy dinner?
Yes, once a week we have Monday night dinner, and
Uh-huh.
it's fun. I mean, it's once a week where we all come together and we have dinner together, and it teaches us formal etiquette and how to act like ladies, which sometimes gets lost these days, I think. And we then have a meeting and talk, and then sometimes we'll go out afterwards and see a movie or whatever.
Let's go through some of those things that we talked about when we were coming back from Helena. A kind
Okay.
of comparison between my generation, your generation. And I bet I don't know your favorite singer.
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think that I have a
Oh, you
favorite
don't?
singer, but I actually enjoy dance music.
Oh.
So I enjoy the faster stuff that, I don't know, your generation probably thinks is just the loud, obnoxious music. Or I've heard it described that way by older
Such as
people.
who?
Such as, I don't know, Mandy Moore's Candy Song.
Okay, never heard of it.
Yep. It's just a fun, like, upbeat song, and I don't know. But I like lots of, like, old music, too, like Tom Petty and, Led Zeppelin and,
Old music, yeah.
well, not old music, but
Have you been to a rave? And what is a rave? And does it differ from just an all-night party we used to have, or?
I've never been to a rave.
Oh,
I don't know.
Okay.
From what I hear, it's not just a regular party, but also from what I hear from people out of state, raves here in Missoula are not real raves.
Ah.
They're just Missoula raves.
Well, we'll both have to check that out.
Yeah, we'll have to go.
Where do you party? I mean, does the school provide, do you have dances?
Well, actually, in my sorority, we have what's called a functions. They're called functions, and we all take dates and we all go out and dance the night away and have a good time and just hang out together, and we'll book a place like sometime, like we just had our formal function in the Missoula Children's Theater lobby, and we all got dressed up. It was kind of like prom, and we all get dressed up and go, and we actually have a shuttle that picks us up at the house and shuttled us to the Missoula Children's Theater and then takes us back.
Wow.
So it's just kind of.
I assume you have false IDs to get into bars. Don't say yes or no to that, just grin.
Okay.
You're what, 20 now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. House parties? Do you go to people's homes?
Yeah.
Things like that?
Yeah, that happens. It's not so much like, I don't know, like in high school we used to go to house parties and they would be real involved, and every now and then you'll go to like a really just raging house party and it'll just be huge, but it's not quite what I look for anymore. I'd rather just hang out, maybe have a drink, just kind of be relaxed and be social with some people, not really get out of hand like we used to.
Drugs. Don't commit yourself. We don't want to embarrass your mom or anything, but how prevalent are drugs in college here?
Um,
Do you know a lot of people who use them and a lot of people who smoke pot?
I know some people. I mean,
Okay.
I'd say it's about the same as in high school. I mean, if that's a better relation.
No,
I
I never heard of pot until way after high school.
Yeah,
Never even heard the word or
yeah.
was aware of it.
I mean, I would say I'd say most people in college most that I know have calmed down with it since they've got to college.
That's what would have been my next question. Are they coping with the use?
I would say that most people I know aren't quite as bad as they were back in high school.
And what about other drugs moving up, in degree of hardness? Do you hear about people taking
Not a whole
cocaine?
lot, no. I mean, I really don't, I don't know. I don't run with the crowd that does as you say, I was in that crowd already when I
Yeah.
was younger in life, so I kind of know the warning signs for a crowd like that, or I've already dealt with people who were really into drugs, and that was probably, I mean, they're great people. I mean, they're some of my best friends, but it just isn't my lifestyle anymore. So I'm not really around it. I don't put myself in that situation anymore because it's just healthier for me.
Yeah. When I was a kid, now let's go back to childhood here, sort of, or, well, maybe not.
Okay.
The atomic bomb was a big thing. And incidentally, since we talked about that recently, Ed and I were talking about it there. He's in there, he hit just the Reagan years where there was kind of a flare-up of fear of the atomic bomb. So he's got one in there, but you didn't have that.
Nope.
Yeah. Even though you're aware that the bombs are there.
Yeah.
And they're rotting away, and
Yeah.
it could cause problems in the future.
Oh, yeah.
The widespread fear, and it was not there. We were talking, at first you said there was nothing really like that, and then we discovered that...
Well, the only thing that I was probably ever really afraid of was losing Mom. I mean, I'm sure that that's something that most kids think about, is losing a parent.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just because Mom and Dad were divorced when I was so young. I mean, I was 4 when they got divorced, so Mom was my main caregiver. And so that was just something that I worried about.
Well, I did too, and I had both my parents, but the idea, I'd try to imagine what it'd be like without them,
Yeah.
and couldn't, and that was scary. And we did talk, though, that sex has become scary.
Yeah.
Now, as you got older. We talked about now when I was in San Francisco and I'd catch a communicable disease, I'd call everybody I could remember having sex with. We'd go down, it'd turn into a party, we'd all get our shots, and there was nothing that you could get that a shot of penicillin wouldn't cure, or that we knew about. And so that just sort of promoted a kind of party atmosphere that has changed with all the various things. How much does that push on you, and people your age, the awareness of it?
I think it pushes on us a lot, actually. I mean, kids my age are still having sex, but
No.
but I think it makes us all a little bit safer. Like, safe sex is a big thing these days, and we're all a greater percentage try and actually do practice safe sex, because, or we go get tested once a year, I personally do, and just to make sure that I'm okay, cover my bases.
I'm involved in a committee on HIV prevention. We do a lot of work hoping that it gets to kids, but we never ask kids. We just assume we know. So I'm going to ask a kid, since you're not quite 21.
Okay.
In high school, when and how do you remember getting any sex education?
Yeah, we took a semester of health, and we talked about sex and health for probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks maybe. And one day we had a lady from Planned Parenthood come in and talk about all the different contraceptives and types of birth control. And after that, that was probably about all the information you got in your entire high school career. It's about 3 weeks.
So you didn't get even a yearly brush up or that you can remember?
Not really. I mean, it wasn't really, I don't think it was really put into the curriculum to be talked about quite a bit in like different classes outside of health. And I mean,
you and I were talking the other day because actually you brought it up and I told you it was something that I'd been thinking about, we'd been trying to push. And that's this idea of taking the different sexual diseases and lumping them together.
yeah.
And
Well,
educating together and saying, okay, a condom prevents not just AIDS, but pregnancy, da-da. And that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
And also we talked about going younger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we just need to be able, as a society, to just talk about sex. Like, I'm sure it's hard to sit down with someone that you're really interested in or you're very attracted to and just be open and honest with each other about what you want out of the relationship or who you've been with, or should we go get tested before we, go on, or should we, what kinds of contraception should we use? I mean, it's just not the conversation that people have, that people need to be having, I think. I mean, but it's just kind of always been the awkward conversation to have, and if we could figure out
Is it
a
the
way.
skills that are lacking, or
I think it's,
a model or a point of view?
it might just be my point of view, but I think that people just are so aware that that sometimes people have too much information or not enough, and so it makes it hard to talk about certain issues.
I lost my thought. Ask me something. I just went south completely. Okay, let's talk then about war.
War.
I was born in 1946. That was the year the war ended. My dad was in it. And although I don't remember anything of the actual war, it was sort of like it still kept up, it surrounded. People still in uniform, television shows, movies, da-da-da-da. And then by the time I got out of high school, we'd already started in another fairly big one called Vietnam. And so I didn't have a feeling that my country really was at peace until well, until Nixon resigned and things started calming down and we settled with the Vietnamese. All of that is remote to you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I suppose the closest I ever really came to war was with Desert Storm or Desert Shield. I mean, I remember I was at camp over the summer and wanted to read a newspaper and watch TV to find out, because my brother's in the Army, to find out if my brother was going to have to go, because that was kind of scary, because I didn't want him to go to war. It's something that really hasn't had a huge effect on my generation, but it's always kind of there.
Is there anything that has on your generation? Is there something that you feel unifies your generation? The environment, is that big enough to be on the screen at all for?
I don't know, maybe. I think everybody's becoming more environmentally friendly, but I kind of think some environmentalists take too strong of a stand on. I'm actually working on a paper right now that deals with that.
Oh, the gold mine?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no unifying?
I can't think of one. I mean, maybe divorce, almost. And I know that's sad to say, but like it used to be, I'm sure for your generation, if you asked all the kids in the class how many people's parents were divorced, there might be one or two. But nowadays, if you ask how many people's parents are still married, and there'll be 4 or 5.
And music has changed in the sense that we're not all listening to the same thing.
Yeah.
When the Beatles and the Rolling Stones came out in my time, everybody listened, and there was a unity there.
Yeah.
Do you have an optimistic feel about where the world's going?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll all turn out good in the end.
Do you think other people of your generation feel that way?
No.
No?
No. I'm sure that there are a few people in my generation that think that we have to live life right now because it's not going to be here tomorrow. And we have to take advantage of what we have right now because it's not going to be here tomorrow. And in some respects, I do agree with that. I mean, you do have to live each day, but you also have to plan for the future and decide what you want out of this life instead of just kind of.
I guess there was a point where my generation was really nihilistic and thought it would all blow up, or, you know, that the environmental problems were so huge they couldn't be done, and that your generation would be the last.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're?
No.
No? You
No.
still want to get married, have kids? Life goes on?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the world's not going to end for a few more 100 years, and I probably won't be alive, and my grandchildren probably won't be alive when something truly horrible finally happens, I hope.
Well, there we have it, folks. Optimism in youth of today. Leanne, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Anything else that we could?
I don't think so.
Well, I hope we've given some people out there an idea of what is out there in the sophomore class at the University of Montana.
I hope so, too.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.